This is the Last Minute Blues Podcast with Donnie, Alex, Jeremy, and Jeff Burton.
Well, it is the Last Minute Blues Podcast and a very, very special edition of the podcast today. We are in the fancy podcast studio, which always just kind of, I don't know, it makes me feel professional.
Takes
I like
it up
that.
another level.
Donnie Fandango joined as always by Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic. He always boos himself. I don't understand it. Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN. And we are joined today by longtime NHLer and Blues associate coach, Steve Ott. Mr. Ott, what's going on, man? Nice to see you.
Great to see you guys. Thanks for having me here.
Well, we're absolutely stoked to have you. And, you know, the season is kind of right around the corner, but we're still in that, you know, sort of dead zone where there's just not a lot of hockey going on. So we got to do things to get to the season, and having Otter here is an amazing
What
thing.
a better
Man.
way
We
to do
appreciate
it.
it.
Yeah, rather than us try and just spew hockey nonsense, let's get somebody in to tell stories and have fun.
Okay, first question. Is it weird when, and you got to be honest, Steve, like you have to, is it weird when grown-ass men call you by your nickname that never played a game with you? Like, you know,
Great
if your
first question.
teammate calls you Otter, that's obviously one thing. But I'm just a guy from South County. I don't know if that's okay or not. Sorry that I did that already.
Not at all. You know what? I've had this nickname forever, obviously, a part of my last name. The only time it would be weird is if my wife called me Otter. So, you guys are all good. She doesn't. So it doesn't follow you home then. The nickname stays around the hockey world, not at home.
But you obviously get it, like out in public, even, Blues fans will say, hey, Otter.
You know what? To be honest with you, everywhere, especially here, it's been here so long. This is part of just growing up in the St. Louis area in the last 13 years. And, obviously it's an easy nickname too. So it's great. Now I got the little Otters coming up next, so we're just going to transition the nickname here and go forward.
What about the jersey? Like, say you spot a guy, 47 years old, my size, wearing a jersey that says Ott in the crowd. What do you think?
Oh, those days are over, I think. But you know what? I always thought, I'll never forget, I playing in Dallas there, I get drafted there, and then I get my first number, and it's number 29. And I hated number 29, to be honest with you. But you see the first person wear your jersey in the stands, and that was the moment that I knew I couldn't change my number. So when somebody spends your hard-earned money, supports you as a fan, I don't care at the age. It's quite the honor when somebody's wearing your jersey.
Was there a number that you did want when you first got in?
Well, it was number 9, but that Medano guy had it, so I wasn't getting that. I wasn't getting that.
That's not going to be one of those ones that you like pay like $5,000 and you get the number from or anything like that. That ain't happening.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Do you still see those, Steve, where you go to other arenas, whether you're back in Dallas or maybe when you were in Buffalo? Do you see fans still with your jerseys on when you're behind the bench?
Yeah, it does happen a little bit, and I make sure our players see it too, so I can let them know that I still got it a little bit.
Hey, Steiner, look over there. It's right there. See it? They still got them.
What have you been doing this summer, Steve? What's been going on?
We put a lot of family time in, to be honest with you. After the season, kind of school year ended pretty much at the same time that we lost out, and we ended up going to Florida for a little while, getting some R&R there, a lot of fishing, hanging out with, like I said, the boys and keeping them active, and my daughter. And then we headed to Canada, visit my family, but also a lot of time in the rink. I want to make sure my boys are getting the same opportunity I had growing up. So spent a lot of time on the ice with them, with different instructors and whatnot, and kind of just want to give them the same avenue I had. So a lot of fun this summer, a lot of relaxing as well. And then on the flip side of it, there's a lot of time, a lot of computer time, things you catch up on the Blues stuff. So it's not all play. There's a lot of little side projects that we like to do, and then we'll talk about later on as we go in the next month or so.
Yeah. Speaking of the little Otter Maverick, he gets a lot of fun time on the Jumbotron. I got to ask you, I never had the chance to ask you, just when you saw that for the first time, you probably didn't know it was coming. What was your first impression when you look up and you see Maverick twirling the jersey on the Jumbo?
The first one I thought was, this isn't going to be good for, obviously, representation wise. I just wanted to make sure it was, a good look or whatnot. It was pretty funny on the bench side of it. All the players are hitting me. They're like, Otter. I look up and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I get to see this at home all the time. So this act isn't anything new, but they timed it. Our social media people, Chris Pinkert and everybody, they do a hell of a job. So it was well well timed. And now, to be honest with you, the recognition he's getting, it's not Dad anymore. It's him walking around the airport. Oh, you're the kid with the shirt off. So he's a team mascot now.
The best part of that, Steve, was you trying not to bust us. Oh my God. It was like watching a Saturday Night Live skit where you're trying not to break up the other person. You were trying to stay professional so hard. But dude, what a great moment, man. It was hilarious. I was at that game. I was losing my friggin' mind.
I think you put like 3 pieces of gum in your mouth to try and just do something to smile when you see it.
Stay professional. Stay professional. Don't look. Oh, yeah.
He's like he's a stadium phenomenon though. Like by the third period, people are expecting to see Maverick with the jersey wailing it around. And no joke, that arena erupts when he shows up on the camera. I think it's funny watching your wife's reaction because he's sitting, he's eating something, and then it's like he hits it, he sees it, and then your wife just leans to the side, like, go for it, take it away.
Oh yeah, she's just like, oh man, just please don't do anything, stay at PG for a 10-year-old as we can, all right, a little bit. So make sure the parents look decent here.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, in terms of off-season, Steve, are off-seasons easier to get away from the game as a coach versus when you were a player?
I would say a little bit opposite, to be honest with you. I think as a player, you're so wound up all year long, and your body's in such like soreness and all that areas where you actually need to rest. Mm-hmm. And when you shut off, it's like the light switch shuts down, and you just kind of just start healing back up, depending if you need surgery or whatnot. Coaching is a little bit different. It's a mental side of it, so your brain never shuts off. Yeah. And obviously, in the way that our season ended last year, it was really hard to shut this one off. And then it turns into development camp, and we start talking hockey, start getting a little bit, the excitement back. And then, Monty wants us doing a little bit of projects here and there, to stay sharp, find some new patterns for the upcoming season. So you're always thinking, and then you get here, and now it's like right away I got here, and it's like the excitement. And I know we're still, a month away before training camp, but the excitement starts happening. You walk around and you got fans stopping you, and they're excited. See the excitement that builds up. It's the mental side that's different for coaching. So it's not as easy as just to shut it off, because we're always constantly talking with each other and whatnot, and coming up with some good ideas for this upcoming season.
Awesome. When did you realize in your NHL journey, maybe it was before your NHL journey, that you wanted to be a coach? And then on top of that, like, when did you start to think like, hey, I think I'm good at this. Like, not only can I do this, but I got a knack for it. When did that start to kind of percolate for you?
You know what? It's always been a passion. I'll start with the why. I think my father coached me all the way up, and he ended up coaching some junior B and junior A hockey in our local area. So he, he's always had that passion of it, and I always watched him kind of grow as a coach as well. And then as I played, I always saw the structure and detail of the game at I thought as a high level. I really, really believed in that. I was lucky enough to have some great coaches with, Ken Hitchcock and Dave Tippett along the way. I can name a few more, but a lot of that really intrigued me. And then on the flip side, I had some, poor decision coaches, or, areas where it really bothered me as a player, where I always thought of, man, if I had that opportunity, I would do something different. Or I, not question or authority. It was more questioning the coach. Why does this make sense or whatnot? So I always had that passion of it, and it kind of transitioned in how I got into it. My last year with the Blues, I had a serious injury, hamstring injury, that I ended
awful. Worst one I've ever seen.
Still to this day.
It was tricky, and Ken Hitchcock called me, and he's like, hey, just to stay sharp. But he knew I was going to be out for months and on end. And he had me taking notes for him, and we would discuss it after the game, and a lot of coaching things that he was trying to groom me. So then it turned into a little bit of an eye in the sky job there that I was doing as well. And I was coming to the end of the rope as a hockey career. And then got the opportunity, obviously, in the call to come back here and be, interview for the Eye in the Sky job. And I jumped on it. The body was done. So it was time.
For the record, Hitch told me you were day to day.
Told us that for months, day to day.
Hey, I want to ask a question real quick, not to veer too off on this, but I have really heard so many obviously hockey people, but there has been so many conversations that we've had on the podcast where Ken Hitchcock has been brought up in a really glowingly positive way. As far as being like just this exceptional teacher, Alex, I know that you have said that before. What was it about Hitch? You know, as a fan, he seemed like a guy you hope you run into at the bar that you can talk to about the game. But what was it about that guy? Because he seems very much beloved, but also at the same time, if I can kind of dug it, it seemed at the end of his time here, we got the sense as fans that the players might be kind of tired of some of Hitch's ways. So can you sort of talk about that sort of whole spectrum when it comes to Ken Hitchcock?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think there's no smarter X and O coach out there. The way that he sees a game and the right way to play the game, it makes your whole team believe that this is how you're going to do to win, and then it translates onto the ice. And he's the best teacher at making you see the game that I've ever had. So it's I always say there's. Ken Hitchcock can get any team in the playoffs, no matter who they are, just from the way he structures his team. Man. That's probably the best compliment I could get him. On the flip side of things, he's very, black and white with you. He comes at you. He pushes you for the best. He wants you pissed off at him because he thinks he's getting, the most out of the person. And he treats you, all the same in the sense of that in the dressing room. And, there's areas where, obviously you get tired of it or you just think you're not at fault. But truly he sees it so impeccably that it's unbelievable. His mind is all hockey all the time. And he's a Hall of Fame coach for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
You didn't have him in Dallas, though, right? When you got there, he was gone. So you just got the stories of Ken Hitchcock from the players.
Well, I got the Ken Hitchcock of training camp.
Yeah, okay.
And I remember being a young guy and him being extremely hard on me in those camps. But it was obviously deserving. So he was doing his best to teach me how to play the game in a right way and speed the development up. But you know what? I was lucky enough to have him here and still have a great friendship today.
Steve, my son plays hockey, and so I'm in all the local hockey rinks, and you meet all the dads and trade phone numbers, and I get text messages every once in a while like, hey, when you bump into Al McInnes, what does he do to work on his slap shot? Like, how could I get my, this and that? And so I get a text one day and say, hey, Jeremy, can you ask Steve Ott, at what age is it okay to start chirping?
The king of chirp, I like to call it.
How did you get so good at it? And a quick follow-up. Are they as good today, because you can hear it on the bench, as you were?
To be honest with you, they don't chirp anymore. So it would be probably hard to play in today's game. I shouldn't say that. They do chirp. I just don't think it's as cutthroated as it was back in the day. There was a lot of harsh things said to each other, and it still does. I mean, as emotions in our sport is the best in the world but again, it was just a little bit different. Growing up in that era. Where did I get it? It was probably survival based, the way I try to play a chippy style, people always coming at you. You better be quick on your tongue to kind of get the flies away. So it's something that, my mom's probably the one that is lippy, similar to myself. So I'll it's passed down from her. Let's just go with that.
It's unbelievable it's unbelievable how good they are at it, because sometimes I'll feel like I came back with a good one, like the Kelly Chase or something, but it's so late after he said something. He's like, hey, welcome to the conversation.
Yeah, you walk away from it and be like, oh, God, I should have came back with that one.
Land the plane.
Yeah. Was there a player, Steve, or was there a team that you knew as a player, I can get into their head? Like, I know when I take on that team, I am a psychological threat to those guys.
Yeah, well, it depends on probably the competitiveness of the team that was over there. Yeah. If you had a real competitive team, gosh, I think for years I never finished a game in Boston. Really? They had so much heaters over there that they're just ready to kick you at any moment. And again, it was survival based, so there was a lot of nights I wasn't able to finish the game, either kicked out or hopefully kicked out. To be honest with you, but it's those type of competitive games that drive the fuel of the fire, and that's probably those were the most fun to play in, because then you're going after the higher end players. You're trying to piss them off to rally up the other guys underneath and distract the game within the game. So it was a lot of fun doing it.
Those Blackhawks series when you were with the Blues, and I think it was the one that the Blues won. I specifically remember Jonathan Toews was like, you'd see his face when he got off of the ice, and Otter was on against him, and it's like, man, you could tell how exhausted he is because of just Steve Ott all over him that entire game. Like that was the X factor in some of those Blackhawks games, was just watching how Ott and Revo would just handle the opposition.
I can still hear the public address announcer, Tom Calhoun. 5 minutes, Steve Ott for fighting, 10-minute misconduct, and a game misconduct.
And then Steve with a big smile on his face being like, I'll see you guys next time.
I want to ask about this upcoming season and about this team, because as a fan, I am really, really excited about it. But before I get there, one thing I'm just thinking about in the last couple of minutes, Steve, who was somebody that you got a chance to play against that, you don't want to give them the moment or anything like that, but a player that you got to play against that you were just like, this is freaking phenomenal, whether you said it out loud or just thought it?
You know what? It would have been Wayne Gretzky, but I was a little bit late on that one. But I took a face-off against Mario Lemieux.
Wow.
And
Did you win it?
I did. I don't even think he tried. It was a neutral zone draw. And I think he just gave up. And but honestly, it was that moment that you're sitting there in the NHL going, wow, you're playing with your heroes. And, Steve Yzerman's against Joe Sackett's, those type of caliber players that you've, grown up watching, that you idolized, Patrick Waz, whatnot. You're playing against the high end of your heroes, and that moment is when you realize you hit it.
Yeah. I want to go back to the coaching thing real quick, Steve, before we get into the Blues for this upcoming season. You went to the bench right after you retired. Was that transition like, I know you talked about how coaching kind of was always a passion, but were you prepared to do it that fast, or did you want to take some time off and the Blues were like, hey, we want you here?
No, you know what? I don't know. Some people say hockey lifer. I'm a hockey player, and it's the next best thing. So, the biggest thing, the most fear that I would have had is, what do I do after I retire? To be honest with you, in the sense of how do you stay in the game? And when this opportunity came back, let alone to come back to St. Louis, I was so excited. So it was a great opportunity. I wanted to build myself into a coach. You just have to get your foot in the door and do it the right way, and grind a little bit. Mine was expedited a little bit with how it went, but taking that Eye in the Sky job was one of the best things I've ever done in my life. So I was pretty excited, and we're still here today having a blast.
Going to say 1 year into it, then the following year a Stanley Cup. That's a pretty good way to get going with it, right?
It sure is. You think of all the players that win it in the, there's a rookie season. If you take like Robert Thomas, for example, and how you just think, oh, wow, it's pretty easy to win. It was the hardest trophy to win. I never was able to win it during my playing career. But to win it as a coach was just as special. It was amazing to be a part of that team.
What was that season like for you? I'm sure you get asked that all the time, but going from where it started to how it ended.
Well, you learned a lot of, you learned the experience really quick. I'll tell you that, because, you never want to lose a coach. Mike Gill gets, fired, and Chief comes aboard, and the team's going through some major ups and downs, a lot of downs at the time. And we started seeing it grow, probably mid-December, where we were like, wow, we're there, but we're just not winning that game. We're one, just can't finally click it all together. And then it started. We seen it analytically, there's chances against, chances for, goals against, goals for, and it started to change. And you could still feel that momentum today. And to watch the team go through the winning streak, get into the trade deadline, push forward, and just really kind of hammer down, we knew we had a real good squad. The veteran leadership that came there, led by Petrangelo and O'Reilly's, Steeners, we had such great leadership that took this team to the next level, and Stanley Cup champs forever.
So do you credit the Stanley Cup championship to that Robert Bortuzzo, Zach Sanford fight at practice over at the Mills? Because that's what everyone in St. Louis seems to credit it to.
You know what? The boys got all over me for that one.
Because you kind of broke it up.
Yeah, you were the one that stopped
it. I did. I jumped in, and for some reason my gloves flew off, and everyone was still wondering why your gloves are off, breaking up the fight. And we laughed about it after. I have no idea. I think I just blacked out. Thought I was in the moment there for half a second, and chuck the gloves off to break it up. But you know what? It was the competitiveness that was at that level right there, that it was the guys were kind of breaking because they wanted to do so well, and they were sick and tired of losing. And those type of moments happen and springboard your team on. And you know what? Credit to them. We're all great friends, but again, it's a competitive sport, and it was one of those moments that really gelled the team as well.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of that Stanley Cup, I don't know about you guys, but I'd really love another one. That whole entire like playoff run is like a dream almost for me. And you know, and not to get too far ahead of myself, but I do play the role of the fan here, so I can't get ahead of myself.
Yeah.
I just look at the Western Conference going into this hockey season. I see the way that the Blues finished the year last year, and my question, fellas, is why not us? Why can't the Blues make a run this year? I know we're supposed to be still a year away or a year or two away, but the way that this team came together, the way that you push Winnipeg to 7 games when you don't have Holloway. Guys, talk to me about this coming up season. Steve, specifically, what are you excited about? What about this team do you think can really make some noise going into this hockey season?
Well, first of all, I'm going to start with just the chemistry and the culture of the squad. The leadership led by Schenner, Thomas, Parayko, Falker. These guys have gelled this team. If we take that, that recipe that we did the last 50 games of the season there and into playoffs and transform this year, and the way they brought each other along, you could feel it in the room now. Mm-hmm. And that excites me. They want to play for each other. They're the shot blocking, the little detail things that are the hard areas of the game, they're all committed to. And now when I talk to guys throughout the summer, it really excites me because they're talking about the passion of winning and doing well and being a playoff caliber championship team. And that's exactly what you're talking about. We can do it. There's no doubt in my mind. Again, the building blocks, the foundational steps, all those areas, that's starting training camp. I know this team will be ready to rock and roll and be ready to go. So that excites me for this upcoming season.
Steve, I want to ask you about something that I witness you do almost every single practice. And, I'm not saying you're the only coach that does it, but a lot of players have told me over the years that the coaches don't really communicate with them. They don't tell them where they stand. They don't check in on them, see how they're doing. But every day at, 10 o'clock before a 10:30 practice, here's Steve skating a lap with a Jake Neighbors or skating a lap with one of these guys. Just, can you take us behind the scenes on what those conversations are like and how it's so important to keep that communication?
For sure. The communication, again, I put myself as a player every day I coach. So, I put myself in that situation. What do I want to hear? Good or bad? But I want honesty is the best policy. So, I've kind of led with that. You gain the trust of the players by obviously the communication side of it. And that's something that I really love, the friendship, the mentorship, all that type of stuff, being a teacher. There's areas of the game that the game within the game that I talked about that I can, sit down and talk with a guy on the couch, or we go and have a little skate, a little hot lap, and it's just a check-in. It's the 5 minutes, show you care about each other. What do you need? Do you need anything? Do you need extra clips? How you feeling about your game last night? What you didn't like? Well, maybe it's a hard conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe those conversations have to happen. But again, the honesty is the best policy is what I go by, and those are the type of things that I lived by and wanted as a player. I try to give it back to them the same way.
Going back to that foundation, those building blocks that you were talking about with this team, Steve, like the past few seasons when they've missed the playoffs, it's felt like, can they carry over the success that they had at the end of the season to the next season? I have to feel like as a player and as a coach, when a team tastes the playoffs for how they ended the season and then plays in the playoffs and gets to double overtime of Game 7 against the President's Trophy team, that yearning to get back to the playoffs is what leads the team the following season to start off the way that they ended.
Yeah, I think if you asked every one of our players how pissed off they were to lose that Game 7, we're all in the same boat. That was, really lit us in the wrong way in the sense of how it was, but it lit a fire because we expected to win. And when you have expectations to win again, that feels good, and it makes you do the extra squat, makes you do the extra run, all those areas, because you don't want to let the city down. And we know the support that we're getting from St. Louis, it's outstanding. We want to give it back to them. So again, those areas of our game, foundational wise, starting with your every individual trainer, every coach doing their extra part, making sure we're ready to go by training camp so we can, obviously produce that on the ice.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that we got zinged by a Winnipeg Jets fan after that Game 7, our podcast.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. They said
If Donnie
saw it.
something else to get hot over.
get ready. Well, no, I mean, sometimes a good zinger is a good zinger. And they said there has never been a more appropriate title for a blues podcast.
Oh man, yeah.
After the late.
Oh, yeah. I did see that one.
Sometimes, man, the burn is so good that you just have to accept it.
The zingers do come.
Hey, Steve, I was going to say earlier in the podcast, you guaranteed that Jimmy Snugroo would score 40 this year. So
I didn't hear that.
you guys heard it. Well, we can rewind it and play it again,
that's
right?
A good callback.
So, got a pretty good handle on everybody on this roster, with the exception of Suter and Bukestad. We'll see them when they get to camp. But tell us about Jimmy Snugroo. Why do you like the young guy? And, what did that sample size last year show you about him going into this year?
You know what? I was so impressed with the kid, his maturity level, his commitment to get better every single day, and just kind of absorbing the information. Once we got him up and running in the practices, you could just see his detail within the game, and that made him an instant NHL player. And then from the detail was his skill level. He was making plays and passes and seeing guys that we just kind of started moving them up the lineup. And the higher end players that want to play the skill game, they started to see his package that he could bring towards them, and you add in the shot. You talk to what his ceiling is. We'll all wait and see. But you know what? He's got tremendous work ethic, his hockey IQ, all those areas of the game to make him, an exceptional player going forward. So I'm really excited about the kid. He's a great person. Getting to know him last year, I'm really excited to see him this upcoming season here.
That youth is the part that I feel. I hear it all the time from people, friends of mine, people that live around me, big Blues fans. All they talk about is, man, I've never been more excited about a group of players because they're all so young. And they start listing off as 21, 23, 23, 23. When you've got that young nucleus, Steve, that has to feel like a coach. It's like, man, the possibilities are endless for where this can go because there's so much growth that still potentially is to come.
Oh, 100%. I think the fast tracking, bringing in Holloway and Broberg that Army and Steiner and the management group did was phenomenal because it did it. It fast tracked us that extra possible year or whatnot to give another, inject these young guys into the roster. And now you start bringing in the draft picks, whatnot. Obviously the trade with Boldy, but we're getting another young D-man in Mayu back. So there's some great young pieces. You get Jake Neighbors, you got all these kids, Joel Holfers, you can go down the list, but they're all growing up together, led by that next wave of in between veteran guys with Tomer and Kyrou, although that area is now getting older. So it's really neat to see us kind of, or I should say myself, going through certain areas of the season or the years over the last 9 years of veteran group to kind of retooling on the fly to getting quickly back into where we have these expectations to win real quick. So that's the excitement part of it, and that's where we are right now. So it's really nice to have these young players.
You mentioned Broberg and Holloway. I always picture the coaches like in their off season, like on the beach in swimsuits, and they got their phones. It's weird that I said that I picture the coaches in swimsuits. I might black that one out for a minute. No, I didn't. I recalled that one. Anyway,
no edits, sir.
I like to think the coaches get like texts from Army, or it's like, hey, we just acquired Broberg and Holloway. It's like, like get excited for the offseason moves because that's the roster you're working with. So when you see the acquisition for your team, you got to be thinking, hell yeah, that's more weapons to work with. And then you start kind of thinking through and game planning even more when you see those names.
You do. Personally, I didn't know exactly what we were getting with Holloway and Broberg until they got here.
Yeah.
And I go out there for the first skate, and you're watching them skate around, and mind you, it's just captain skate out there. They're just having a little flow, but you could see the skill level, the hockey IQ right away, and that I was just like, wow, these guys are going to be really good right off the bat. So they're great people. Great teammates already, and they are in love with St. Louis. So, when you add those two things into the mix of the guys, they're really fun to coach.
And it happened a year ago this time, August. Remember, it was late in the season, so look at your phone in case we get a text message. But
fist pump a little bit, maybe
another offer sheet coming.
Well, anytime you can add depth to an organization, just makes you better.
Yeah.
And that's what exactly happened and made us a lot deeper real quick.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, listen, man, we thank you so very much for your time. Not only did we appreciate the hell out of you as a Blues player, but as a coach, you're one of my favorite guys. When you are on the bench and you're chirping at the officials or at somebody else, ooh, man, I love it. I love it, and I'm trying to perfect my lip reading in those particular moments. But man, it's we are, like I said, we're really excited about the upcoming year. We can't wait to see not only this Blues team this year, but going forward, and we really just appreciate your time on the Last Minute Blues podcast.
Well, thank you guys. The excitement is, I think it shows it on my face because, we have the depth right now. We have the goaltending. We have great leadership. We're lucky enough that with our management team and the coaching staff to put this all together. Now it's time for the real work. So I'm excited for it. We're still a month away, but I know the guys will be rolling in here real quick, so our fans will start seeing them around the city. Say hi to the boys. They'll be excited to get up and running again.
And as we wrap up here, we just need you to twirl your shirt.
Shirt on.
Stand up.
Oh, Alex, sorry, I didn't put in too much beach time there with my shirt off. I've been swimming with my shirt on lately.
I did.
He's not going to do that now after I said that I picture the coaches without their shirts on in the offseason. It's like, I need to get out of this room really fast. I'm going to do the worst thing in radio. I know Donnie wrapping up, but I have one more question I wanted to ask you about, Steve, because I hear it on a day-to-day basis with Curbs and Joey up in the broadcast booth. They talk about how outstanding you are working on faceoffs with the centermen on this team. They say day-to-day you see improvements from individuals. Is there an art to that? Because that's always been a knack of yours, is being really good at faceoffs.
Well, there is. I mean, I was lucky enough to get into that in my career. A little backstory on this. First training camp, Joe Nieuwendyk against myself, and I think he broke my stick in half, and the puck went down so easily. It was embarrassing. So
he was pretty good at it.
That was the moment that I was like, wow, I'm in a man's league now. I better start working on these faceoffs. And not only that is, how do you get more extra ice time? And for me, it was, the last 5 minutes of the game, maybe I could be a winger that learns to take draws. And I just started practicing. And you start learning the patterns of the face-off. And then, after taking thousands and thousands of draws, you really find out the techniques. And then how do you add it to, the coaching side of it? So watching, a young Robert Thomas is a perfect example, starting in the low 30s, mid 30s to where he is now as one of our top centermen off draws. It's great because he now has that Rolodex in his brain. The technique is down, it's clean, it's clear, and he's done extremely well. And if you can kind of just change a guy 1% or 2, it really leads to some real good possession time. So I'm a big believer in faceoffs. Spend a lot of time on it. I got the best in the world to work with.
Yeah.
All right. So I have a follow-up to the follow-up.
So I did the worst thing in a broadcast.
No, and this is just a fan question. But one thing that absolutely drives me bananas, and I know that there is a reason for this, but when, big moment in the game, getting ready to drop the puck, the crowd's going flipping crazy. I'm trying to keep my shirt on. And
True.
And the ref is not dropping the puck. And I'm screaming.
So is he on the bench.
Joey is too.
What is going on in that particular moment? What is the rep saying to you guys? I assume it's the way in which somebody has their stick down first, whatever, but I imagine this very short period of time where you're not only insulting the player on the other team across from you, but also you're saying, will you please drop the goddamn puck? What's going on there? And I'm sorry to keep this going, but I've always wondered that my entire life.
I did it.
So, I mentioned this game within the game twice now, so maybe third time now, but that's exactly what's happening. Some guys are trying to cheat right away. I mean, if you're not cheating, you're not trying type of deal. So, and also it depends on the lineman. So, you have to have, the respect with guys, but all of a sudden you can tell when they're, kicking you out of draws or whatnot or being hard on you. So there's little things that are going through, and guys are kind of, peacocking each other there in the face-off dot.
Yeah.
Trying to get the upright position, whatnot. Their position, they're set first, all those little things in the game. And that's kind of what's driving you nuts, because it feels like, 5 seconds feels like a minute because they're just standing there basically staring at each other. So I get it, but that's exactly what's happening, let alone they could be chirping each other too and having a good time.
Okay, I promise. No more follow-up questions from me.
All right. But also, too, and if I can be self-critical of myself, how the hell am I not asking about Steve Ott and Faceoff halfway through the podcast?
Oh, God.
It was the one thing. Opportunity.
It was the one thing I'm like, I got got to ask him about this because no joke, like on the broadcast with Curbs and Joey, because I do pre and post games, I hear it every single game where Joey's talking about it. So, oh my God, Steve Ott, he's like one of the best face-off coaches in the game, watching him at practice. He works with these guys nonstop. And it's like, if I don't ask him about this, I'll probably never hear the end of it from Curbs and Joey. So
yeah, I'm just glad that he got it out because we would have got 3 texts later on. Should have asked
15 maybe.
All right. Well, again, thank you, Steve, very much for your time. We appreciate it. For our dude, Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic, Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN, always thinking about our homeboy, Jeff Burton. I'm Donnie Fandango from 105.7 The Point. This is the Last Minute Blues podcast. As always, thank you very much for listening. Go Blues.
The Last Minute Blues podcast. Hear more at 1057thepoint.com.